All right, what's up, guys? So, we're going to be starting a little bit of a different thing here on the channel where I'm going to go through some of the teams and just sort of give my breakdown on them. So, to start us off, obviously, we're going to go with my New York Knicks and what's been working for them, what may be troubling them down the stretch. So, to start it off, obviously, top left here, I got the catch and shoot numbers from some of the main guys they're going to be put in space. If you look to the right, you'll see this is how Tibbs sets up most of his offenses, where he has two guys on the corner. He has Brunson with the ball, and then he has the screener at the free throw line ready to give Brunson the screen. And then when Julius is playing, this is Julius in this sort of floater role here on the left wing, but it can be other people. I've seen Boyan do it in limited minutes. Dante does it sometimes just to let him float and then pop the three and do whatever he wants. But as we can see, a lot of that action, and as I'll show you later, is going to create dribble penetration by Brunson that opens up the floor for these guys in the corners and even the floaters from time to time. So having good catch and shoot three guys is vital to what Tibbs is trying to build here in terms of our offensive system. And as you can see, we have a lot of good catch and shoot three guys at the moment. I mean, Burks is putting up some of the best numbers in the league at 57.1% on the threes on two a game, so still a respectable volume. And what that will allow us to do with the addition of Boyan and Burks is space the floor even more than it already was. Obviously, with some of the injuries we've had, it's been the Dante show chucking up threes and Brunson trying to penetrate as much as he can with no real shooters around him, with OG being hurt. So adding Boyan and Burks, although Boyan's number isn't good, Boyan's still been shooting 41% from three, something along those lines. So he's still going to be effective, just maybe not as much in this catch and shoot role and more off the dribble. And then you got obviously Brunson and catch and shoot. That's not going to happen very often because he's going to be doing most of his numbers off the dribble pull up game, which he's still a 39.5% shooter from. And then Julius also more of a dribble pull up game. And as we know, Josh Hart's numbers have been down all year, so hopefully he can pick that back up if he stops with the hitch a little bit, or not as much of a hitch as he just sort of hesitates when he shoots. If he can get rid of that hesitation, he's been a relatively effective 3-point shooter this year with that. Next thing you got for the Knicks, that's huge for them in terms of their stats, is these three guys down here: Mitchell Robinson, Precious Achua, and Isaiah Hartenstein. The Knicks can flat out rebound the basketball. Obviously, Josh Hart's one of the best, height wise per inch of rebounders in the game. I think it's 6'5", where he gets the boards. He's a real hustle guy in that aspect. And then you add a guy like Precious Achua, who I've seen has had 10 offensive rebounds at the half in some of his minutes. He was a guy that was a throw in the deal with OG Anunoby, and he's been incredibly effective with the Knicks in sort of the 4 or 5 role, whatever matches him that day, especially with the 5 injuries we've had with Hartenstein, with Mitchell Robinson, even Jericho Sims going down for a little bit of time. So they are able to rebound the basketball. They get second chance points for their teammates, and they just, on an offense that has been, in terms of efficiency numbers, not the best this year, being able to create this elite offensive rebound numbers, 12.7 a game, third in the league, and just rebound the basketball in general with a 53.1% rebound rate, which is first in the league. It creates the second chance points. I mean, they get 17 second chance points a game right now. That's huge in terms of their offense, and obviously we know what Tibbs wants to do on the defensive end of the floor. So that's just some of the breakdown before we get into the film and see more of what their offense looks like inside some of this action.
All right. First, I'm going to take you through Brunson. Obviously, the offense runs through Brunson. He has one of the highest usage percentages in the league. And really, what my feelings on him in terms of his playmaking, he's not an elite playmaker. He's not going to go out there and make those plays like a Chris Paul, a Steve Nash, maybe modern day Tyrese Halliburton is going to. But he is an elite creator. And what I mean by that, as you'll see in this clip, is that his ability and his effectiveness as a scorer causes the defense to collapse on him, opening up space for the other players on the floor. So the amount of space that he creates for his teammates is elite, despite I don't necessarily think his playmaking is elite. And a big example of that is with his dribble penetration. So if we watch here, obviously, we're going to start with a Jericho Sims screen, as Tibbs loves to do with the center, start with the screen. Brunson shakes it off. He gets here, gets into all of this space. He has Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray ready to collapse down, forces the collapse by them. I don't really know what Aaron Gordon's doing in this situation. I get you want to guard Julius Randle, but he's almost off the screen here. You need to be down here trying to block the passing lane, not really worried about what Randle is doing here. But anyway, he gets to this area. Looks like Dante's the easy play, right? Gets his eyes looking at Dante, forces Porter Jr. to jump the passing lane, and he hits OG for a three. That's the type of stuff I mean when I talk about him in terms of his creation. He forces such a collapse down low that it creates space for his open shooters. And as we've discussed, that can cause major problems for other teams as they have to worry about these 40% catch and shoot guys on the wings and in the corners. Here's another example of this where Brunson, he's ahead of Dylan Brooks. Jericho's going to come up the screen. Dylan Brooks is ready to contest the three. By the way, this game, Dylan Brooks did a great job defending Brunson. He wasn't incredibly efficient. A lot of physicality in this game. This was the one that ultimately ended with the Knicks protesting the game on a bad Brunson foul towards the end, which I'm not going to really get into, but just overall great job by the Rockets defensively scheming against Brunson and his sort of lesser counterparts in this game. But anyway, Jericho Sims sets the screen. Brunson gets around it. He gets Dylan Brooks on his back, but Jabari's right there. So what's he going to do? This is another part of Brunson. He has elite footwork where he pushes off his left, gets to his right. Here, he can probably take this shot, but watch. Alperen Sengun's ready to come up and contest. Jabari's ready to come up and contest. And Dylan Brooks is pretty close behind him, ready to contest. So what he sees is you have Jalen Green a little too far down, caught maybe helping on Achua, and he gets him off of his guy, focused on the shot, where Brunson hits Josh Hart, who, as we said, has not been very effective in terms of his abilities as a corner three-point shooter, but hits that one nonetheless. So really good job by Brunson there. Next, we got some of the two-man game with Randle and Brunson, and this is some of what the Knicks have been missing with him lately. They've filled the role with a lot of pin downs, getting Dante DiVincenzo going up on screens to open threes, but at the end of the day, you want your 1 and 2 working well together, and this is another clip from the Nuggets game where Brunson gets the ball. You're going to see this action a lot from Tibbs. Two guys going to the corners. He's got the center coming up top the screen. Brunson doesn't want it, so instead you have Randle in the floater role, who comes for the screen, slips through here, allows him to slip through a little bit. Aaron Gordon's all the way over here, not really in a good position for Randle to then kick out. And this is the type of space Brunson creates, and especially in a down year from three for Randle, these are the type of open shots he's going to get. So that's just good work with your 1 and 2 there. Not much else you can say about it. Outside of Brunson, the playmaker, there's what he's better at, which is Brunson, the scorer. Here, you're going to see him come down. He has Prince on him. Jackson Hayes is helping a little bit because Jericho is yet to get down the court. But what this is going to lead into is Jericho comes up for the screen. You see Brunson's going to go through that. And Brunson, he's a guy, he prefers to have his defender on his side. He doesn't really like blowing by him and into this next level where the help defense can come for LeBron or Jackson Hayes or even one of these other two. And what he's going to do is Brunson is going to keep his front hip and Taurean Prince's front hip aligned so that he can then leverage this to get past him. But now he has Jackson Hayes in his way. So what he's going to do, he pulls up, allows Jackson Hayes to get a little bit too vertical, and then watch. He's just going to blow by. He allows Jackson Hayes here in this situation to go back to his man before eventually hitting the blow by and getting the easy floater. One of the reasons for Brunson being so effective is the way he stops and starts in terms of his speed. I don't know necessarily if this is something you learned from Luka and the Mavs, because Luka does that at an elite level. Unfortunately, he's too young to really watch that Villanova team with Brunson with any sort of basketball analysis behind it. So in this play, obviously 7 seconds to go. He's going to push the ball up court, use his speed, and boom, right there, he uses the body to stop him of the defender, gets up into his shot, and creates an easy floater look. And as I've said previously, if he gets to that floater, it's pretty much unstoppable. Obviously, another reason for Brunson's success that's been talked about a lot is his footwork and his ability to play off 2 feet. And here you have a different Pacers game, but You got Precious Achua screening. Maybe this is an illegal screen because his arms are almost fully extended, but either way, you get TJ McConnell on the ground. And Brunson is going to use this. He sees the two help defenders. TJ McConnell still tries to play catch up with him. So what he's going to do here, McConnell's weight's all on the backside, is he's going to back him out, wait for TJ McConnell to try and overhelp here and get back up here for the three-pointer, and then drive by. McConnell does a pretty good job, but again, once Brunson gets here, where he gets any type of space for his floater, that's going to be too much, and he's not going to be able to stop. Switching gears here, I'm going to discuss why I think some of Julius Randle's playoff woes might go away this year. This was pre-injury. I'm a little worried about him now after he said the thing the other day about how he's not sure if season-ending surgery is going to be where he ultimately ends up. I think his position is somewhat similar to Joel Embiid's, where you're not really going to see a healthy version of the playoffs of them regardless. And these are two guys who have had playoff woes in the past, so it might be in their best interest to sit it out. But regardless, we're going to go under the assumption that he's going to play and be healthy. On the left side, you have Julius Randle's shot chart from last year. On the right, you have his shot chart from this year. You can notice a huge difference in how he's adapted his game, a significant amount less of that mid-range game, and he's gone into more of the bully ball in the paint and then popping some of the threes, although as I mentioned earlier, he hasn't been incredibly effective in terms of his three-point game this year. But I think this sort of play style might adapt more to playoff basketball than in previous years, where if he's hitting the mid-range, especially in some of our other playoff runs where he's been the number one option, and getting those doubles, getting those spin fades on the baseline midi, that's going to be hard to hit in the postseason. Whereas some of these shots might be more effective for him in terms of trying to use his physicality to get to the basket and score.
What I like a lot about Randall's offensive game is his ability to use his physicality, use his attack points to leverage himself to get to the basket. So here we look, you see he's got a matchup he likes. He comes down like he's going towards the middle, attacks at that back hip, and the spins off it, gets the easy layup. I like seeing more of that from Julius Randle and less of this sort of post up in the midi, hit the fadeaway, that type of offense that we're accustomed to seeing from him a lot of the time. You have another example of that. Brunson's going to stop at the rim, give off to Julius. Julius uses the one dribble here to get Kuzma's body going that way, spins off it, uses the physicality to hit it at the end of the shot clock. From there, I think Randle has sort of used his past tendencies and leveraged them into better buckets for himself. So here, you're going to see him. He gets another 3-point shot, and he's going to fake it to get into the post and then use that physicality. And he loves this spot right here on the court. I've watched a ton of clips of him just hitting that straight up. So when he's getting to that spot, it's similar to a Brunson floater. It's going to be difficult to stop. Here's another example, and this will be the final Randle scoring play I show, where he gets into that mid-range arsenal that every player in the league who scouted him knows he loves. He sort of lulls Gordon into the sleep, waiting for the shot, and then boom, uses his physicality, gets to the rim, hits a tough lay. Good defense by Gordon there, just better offense. One thing I've noticed in terms of Randle as a playmaker, and I don't know if this is a play design, I don't know if this is a tendency or what, but when he gets to his right wing and he starts driving in from that side instead of from driving in with the left hand, it's typically going to be a kick out. And you're going to see on this play, he has Irving on him, he drives in, and then what I've noticed that makes me think it might be a play is look at Hartenstein's positioning here. He's not really worried about getting inside to possibly get a board as much as he is ready to lock down any type of potential closeout from the defender. So you get an easy kick to Dante for an easy three. And that's something I'll talk about a little bit more when I discuss OG Anunoby, but I love the off-ball screens from Hartenstein, and I really think they should be running more of that. Here's another example of it, and you're going to see Devo moves to the corner, right wing, right hand, dribble penetration, gets it in, gets the double. Achua does come down here, so maybe his job is to screen off this guy, and then you get the same sort of thing because Achua does, as we can see here, he does go to number one here, and then you get the kick out from Randle, a little bit of a closeout from Grant Williams, but still, it's a wide open jumper for Dante DiVincenzo. All right, so we're going to see one more clip of a Julius Randle assist here. um, in what I like to refer to as his quality back to basket patience. But this will lead me into my next thing, which is what OG and Ananobi brought into to the table for the New York Knicks in terms of his abilities to move off the ball and his ability as a corner 3 point shooter. So here you're going to see Julius welcomes being in this area. You know, he's very comfortable in it and he's just waiting. His eyes are peeled across the corner, and he's going to dart a pass over to OG for a quick corner three from OG Ananobi. So obviously there was a lot of talk surrounding the OG Ananobi trade with Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett and how would it fit. A lot of people calling it a bit heavy attacks for the Knicks to get OG Ananobi. And I'm not going to lie, as an Emmanuel Quickly lover and a bit of an RJ sympathizer, I felt a little bit of this too. But I think what makes OG so perfect in terms of his offensive capabilities, because obviously he wows on the defensive end. And we saw with him on the court, the Knicks were the best defensive team in basketball. His ability to move off the ball so well, I think, perfectly surrounds two relatively ball dominant scorers in Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle, and you're going to see that with a couple plays I'll show here. But this one, I think, perfectly emulates what he brings to the table for them. So, yeah, Brunson on the other side. Grant Williams is the assignment here for him, and he's watching Brunson while reading Grant Williams. He reads Grant Williams the second he takes a step in. You see, as soon as he sees the momentum go forward, he slides to that corner where Grant Williams has completely lost him. He still thinks he's on this wing, but OG read him, moved towards Brunson, slid to the corner, and boom, easy three for him. All right, so this play obviously has a little bit more to do with Hartenstein, Brunson, and OG's corner three ability rather than his off ball movement. But it is something I said I'd talk about earlier in the video, and I'd just like to discuss it a little bit more. So you're going to see on this play, Brunson comes down, Hartenstein comes up, and in case you missed it, signals for the OG pass, pins down Anthony Edwards, and gets a wide open three for OG Ananobi. And this is a play I really think when Mitchell Robinson comes back, uh, and Hartenstein's fully healthy because obviously he has a sore Achilles right now. I think they might want to consider at certain spurts in the game just running their starters with Hartenstein because I really think what he does in terms of his off-ball screening and his movement to help out the people around him on the offensive end with OG on the court might outweigh some of Mitchell Robinson's interior defensive impacts at points in the game. And specifically in regards to pin downs on corner threes, this is something I'd like to see Tibbs do a lot more of, especially considering the personnel he has now in terms of having multiple 40% 3 point shooters. And this play can be run for OG, it can be run for Dante, who's over here on the other side. It can be run for a guy like Alec Burks or even Boyan if you want to get him involved as well. And I just think using Brunson's gravity to get all the defenders focused on him and even Randall to then catapult it into a pin down for an open corner three might be an effective strategy for the Knicks moving forward. Obviously, if you watch a lot of OG Ananobi, you know not all of his off-ball movement is coming from sitting around the perimeter and trying to create availability there, but a lot of it comes from his off-ball cuts. So here, I think what OG does really well in comparison to some of the other guys, as I mentioned earlier with the Grant Williams play, is he's able to read space and read his defender well. So here you're going to see, obviously, Randall, I talk about gravity doubles with him, how he opens that when Gary Trent feels the need to double. He's open to that, he's comfortable to that, and he likes being in that position, in all honesty. He doesn't feel a need to quickly kick this out to Brunson as he may, but regardless, you're going to see sorry, let me go back. You're going to see OG Ananobi's over here. His assignment, honestly, could be any of these three. I'm really not sure at this point. But he reads the Gary Trent double. He sees this open space with Scotty in between the two, and boom, fires into the open space, gets the easy lay. Here's another example of OG's ability to read open space. So you're going to get a mismatch with Conchar on Hartenstein. They're going to feel the need to double. He comes down to guard, I guess, a Quentin Grimes three, although really not sure what he's doing again here because you're not going to be able to get out to that. But regardless, reads the open space and gets an easy bucket. And that's what OG does on a consistent basis that can help this Knicks offense. One more play that kind of shows off OG's off ball IQ here is
his ability to read leverage, his ability to force switches off the ball. So here you're going to have him feed it to Malachi, attack this defender, and force the switch. If he doesn't attack that defender with his physicality, put a body on him, then maybe he doesn't switch and is able to fight through the screen. And then opens up his leverage on the inside with the smaller defender, uses his wingspan to keep himself at length with this defender. And then Malachi Flynn knows him well enough to get him that pass and get him that easy bucket.
All right, so in terms of what this means for the Knicks, I know I only talked really about Brunson, OG, and Randall and what they bring to the table. Obviously, they went into the All Star break very hurt, and getting some of those guys back last night, they picked up the dub in what was Bojan Bogdanovic's best game as a Knick, I would say, but they got reinforcements coming. Obviously, you got the Boyan and Burks boost, where Burks provides some of that elite catch and shoot numbers, and as I said earlier in the video, can fit into that corner role really, really well with possibly some pin down setup for him as well as some other threes. And we've seen him in that secondary ball handler role a little bit more. And then obviously Boyan is an elite second line scorer, an elite shooter. He uses his 7 foot wingspan to get to the basket at a pretty good rate, and he likes to use his physicality a little bit and then outstretch the defender to get to his layups. And he's been in the short sample size pretty effective in a corner roll into penetration for the Knicks. The jumper hasn't always been there, and as we showed with his catch and shoot numbers, it hasn't really been there this year in terms of his catch and shoot ability. But he's been an effective 3-point shooter this entire season, regardless of that fact. And he's been able to leverage that in some early games into using that to get to the basket on pump fakes in the corner. The problem I see with both these players and their additions to the team is simply in their adaptation to this team and adapting to not having as high usage rates, which isn't as big of an issue as my second one in the fact that the Knicks didn't really go out and get another second initiator. So in watching that game last night where they almost blew the lead to Philly, I was still finding myself. Deuce obviously is an incredibly effective player and played well last night, which is why he ended up getting some of the closing minutes over Burks. But he can't really get the Knicks into their sets, into what they want to do, into that offense I showed you earlier, where you have the center running the screen, the corners, and the floater. But with their starting line, that level of offense and that style of offense fits perfectly to their personnel. The only problem I see with that is just the fact that when all these guys get healthy, Tibbs is going to have an 11-man rotation of serious quality guys to rotate in and out when, as we know, he likes to play his starters a lot. But for the rest of the season, they're currently 1 game behind the Bucks and a couple out of the Cavs. I think they can make a push, but it's going to rely on the health of some of their players coming back from injuries. So it remains to be seen. But if you like more video, more style of a video like this from us, let us know, and I'll make a couple other ones on some of the other teams that may be contending this year. I don't really know. Maybe I'll make, I could make a Bilal Koulibaly, a Deni Avdija, but I'm not sure how much I'll really touch on the lower teams in the standings. But anyway, if you'd enjoy this video, like, subscribe, tell me what you thought I need to improve on in the comments, because obviously this is one of the first videos like this that I've done. But anyway, enjoy the rest of your day.